Hi guys, how's it going? Um, I'm frustrated that I got stuck in the middle of that puzzle rather than being able to finish like the chapter or something because it felt like you know it felt like I was very close to doing something that would be able to get me past that mech, which would have been like a very satisfying ending. And this is a very uh, not that. Um, but I'm sure that I will figure it out at some point. I think. Um, yeah, maybe there's something wrong with the generator. Yeah, totally. Uh, so the only thing is that like the green light comes on and says that like the power is active. I don't know. I don't know. That's deceptive. If like there's something else with the generator somewhere else and it's not clear. I don't remember seeing power lines. I could go back and try to follow conduits and see if there's something there. But like I got it to go green, right? In a video game, if I could get it to go green, that's the signal that it's on. That's really weird. Um, what do I think about invincible bosses? It's I don't have a problem with it. I think so. Invincible bosses are ways to insert puzzles into your game, and they're not that different from. I mean, like there's a very blurry line between like a boss in a Zelda game, um, which is basically an invincible boss. I don't know if you would categorize that as an invincible boss, but it's only susceptible to a certain pattern of attacks. And it's essentially a puzzle that you have to figure out what is the correct pattern of attacks. This octopus thing was, essentially the same. It's just that instead of a pattern of attacks, because all of our attacks are in a first person, well, not necessarily in a first person shooter, but in Half-Life, all of our attacks are like very constricted to specific like bandwidth of action. They're all you're firing projectiles or explosives. Um, that's not like instead of a pattern of attacks, you have to sort of perform a pattern of different actions that I mean, I think that they're interesting set pieces. I think that it's important that you make it clear through cueing your players that this is a set piece, that this is not like a normal enemy that you can just shoot. I'm a big fan of lots of user interface. I know that not everybody's crazy about that, but I love getting like really solid feedback when I'm doing damage to an enemy, and so then I can get equally strong feedback that I'm not doing damage to an enemy and that I need to sort of figure something else out. This game, I think, does a fine job, at least with the octopus, of sort of having characters tell me this is not the same kind of alien that you've seen before. You're going to have to do something specific to kill it. I, had no real illusions that I was supposed to shoot it enough times to kill it or something like that. So as long as that's clear, as long as the experience is guided in a way that like the player knows what they're supposed to be doing and they don't end up confused like spending clips trying to kill something that's invincible. I think it's an interesting way to sort of change up the pace of the game and ask you to sort of do something a little bit different. I was close, like maybe 5 or 10 minutes before the end of the chapter. Yeah, I just don't know what I did. I am frustrated by the fact that I thought I got the power generator done. Like that, I thought that was what I had to do, and now I got sort of dropped back from a mode of I'm making progress and making steady steps every moment to a mode of what do I do now? Where do I go? And sometimes that's like the mode that you want to be in. In Half-Life, that I mean, when I'm talking about confusion and the way that the game uses confusion in a positive way, I think I'm largely talking about that. I'm talking about like moments of okay, I have a vague goal somewhere, but I don't know exactly where I'm supposed to go next or what I'm supposed to do. And so there are paths open in front of me, and I'm trying to get a sense of the space and what is coming up next. That's great. That's totally cool. But it's I don't know. It's like trying to change gears in the wrong place while you're driving, and it just like I got a thump. I got like my whole player experience car shook and kind of freaked out, and now I'm afraid my transmission is damaged. Not really. I think that's fine. It's the uh, uh, I got to figure out what the next thing is. And I was in a mode of like, yes, I'm going to finish the chapter, and now I'm not done. I did not crouch. I did not crouch in the blast pit. Well, gosh. Well, gosh. Okay. Okay. I'm glad I got through that. Uh, Man, I really should have figured that out. I feel silly about that one. Because I know that, yeah, okay. I should have figured that out. Um, yes, Cage Tiger. I know he was telling me that I could get through the game in like 5 hours or something ridiculous like that. Sorry, Huck. I'm gonna keep puzzling my way through it. It's gonna frustrate the hell out of you. Um, Use secondary fire on each gun to figure out what it does. So some of them don't have it. Like the gun that I just got, I think doesn't have it, but I did try it out. I finally tried it out on the shotgun, and I think it's just double barrel, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I need to use that smarter. And it looks like so maybe I picked up grenades for the launcher. Next time I switch over to the launcher, I'll see that. That's good. Um, Academic approach to the environment might be slowing me down in certain spots. It could be simply a case of our different perspectives as player and spectator. We see things you don't see, and vice versa. That's certainly both of those things. I think are possible. Yeah, both of those things are definitely possible. I mean, certainly the fact that I stop and pause the game and just like talk for minutes on end is slowing me down. But it's possible that it's also distracting me from seeing things that otherwise I would see. I think it's probably more of the other one. It's probably more my attention is focused on specific things in the game because they're sort of mechanically interesting, they're interactively interesting, and as spectators, you're going to tend to be looking at the entire frame differently. You're going to be looking, your attention is going to be drawn purely visually. And so there are things that the game might be doing on a visual plane that are really positive, that draw attention to what it's trying to draw attention to. And I'm distracted by the fact that I'm either I have tunnel vision or I'm spending too much time looking at my ammo or whatever it is that I'm distracted by, and I'm not taking in the scene as a whole, which is frankly why it's not a bad idea, even though it's frustrating to stop in the middle of a puzzle like this and not reach the end of the chapter. It's often a good idea to like stop a game at this moment where I feel lost and frustrated, and come back with a clear head, because I'm betting that I'm gonna run through this same area again, and I'm just gonna see a thing that I missed before because I was distracted by something. If I come back in a different mindset, I find this frequently with games, especially puzzle games, and especially like skill-based puzzle games. I get so frustrated at a game like Hotline Miami. I get so frustrated when I'm unable to execute like the solution to a puzzle. Uh, and I frequently find that if I take a break and I come back the next day, or maybe just even a couple hours later, uh, all of a sudden I'll do it on the first try. Uh, like create like something that I just couldn't do before. It'll just click, and it doesn't happen all the time, obviously. And Hotline Miami, I think, proves that. But it's definitely like that kind of resting your brain from a particular problem and coming back to it when it's rested is a super real thing. This game invented crouching in first-person shooters. I should crouch more. Huh. Interesting. Well, I will do that. I will try crouching more. Uh, did it actually invent crouching in first-person shooters? I mean, was that like a breakthrough thing? I don't know if it literally invented it, but was crouching not really a mechanic in popular shooters before Half-Life? I didn't know that, if that's the case. That's really interesting. A lot of the first-person shooters that I play, oh god, I feel like we have branched in an interesting way in the industry, so that first-person shooters and like stealth shooters are almost different genres. And I'm used to crouching a lot in stealth shooters. But I think I'm not used to crouching that much in first-person shooters, and so I'll try to keep that in mind. I like that you learned to hit all of the boxes. Yeah, yep. It's so loud. It's really an unpleasant sound, and it's also kind of weirdly. I don't want to say jackpotty because jackpots are casino games are strangely compelling, but there's something weird about having stuff spill out of the crates, and I can't quite tell what it is that I'm getting. Like, I assume that I'm getting good stuff, and sometimes I'll get like a health pack, and that I know when I get a health pack. But a lot of the time it seems like I'm just getting ammo or something, and I don't know what kind of ammo it is. It's just I break a crate and I get some stuff, and I assume that I'm better off. But yeah, I'm hitting boxes more. I'm doing it better. It's certainly, if I had played this game before I played Half-Life, I think that it wouldn't have taken me or Half-Life 2, it wouldn't have taken me so long to figure out that I was supposed to break crates in Half-Life 2. So would it have helped if there had been something in the game design or the level design that made me crouch earlier, and that, I don't know, that made me sort of like learn the crouching mechanics better? I think it's possible that they could have done that. I think they did it. I mean, they certainly did it in the training, like they explicitly say it. And the first time I went through, I listened to them say it. I knew that crouching would make me quieter. I just there's there's a problem where you teach mechanics too early in the game and then don't actually use them consistently until later in the game. And it's very, very easy for a player to forget, especially to forget like a particular side effect of a minor mechanic. And obviously, not everybody would. Some people would remember, but a lot of players are going to forget some things. And so, a really smooth learning curve would have either anything that's going to be important in the game, you would have to practice persistently or at least consistently, like over and over again throughout the game. Or they would do, and sometimes this is not so subtle, but you would put a specific reminder sort of right before, shortly before the test. So shortly before the octopus boss thing, there would be some other section where the game straight up told me to crouch so that I wouldn't make any noise in a different context, and reminded me strongly of that mechanic and of that effect, so that then when I got there and they said, Mike, you have to be quiet, that would mean something to me. I would associate that immediately with crouching, whereas I didn't. Um, yeah, okay. I remember a spot in Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door where I got stuck on the moon base. I had to start the game all over again, and I figured out exactly what I had missed. There's no way I would have gotten it if I just continued wandering around on the old save. Wow, that is I don't know. That's a roller coaster of a story. Like, what a tragedy that you had to start the game all over again. And then I feel so happy for you that you got back to where you were and found the answer. And it must have been so frustrating to realize that it was there the whole time and you didn't have to go back and play through the whole thing like if you had just seen it, but at the same time to recognize that you never would have seen it if you hadn't gone back and played through the whole thing again. That's a hell of a story for a gamer, at least. Incidentally, I don't think I ever played Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. I may have rented it once, and I liked the Paper Mario concept, but I don't remember. I don't remember. Duke Nukem 3D had crouching. Oh, good, Duke Nukem. So there's no way Half-Life invented it. I believe that, but it's also, it could be like, how useful was the crouching in Duke Nukem 3D? I have no idea. It could be that Half-Life popularized it or made it a more interesting mechanic. That's still possible. I think System Shock invented crouch in 3D games. That's also possible. I don't know what the timeline of System Shock is, and I actually have never played it. But if it's anything like Bioshock, then crouch is certainly a mechanic in that, which is obviously that postdates Half-Life. But oh God, what games did you play back when Half-Life came out? How come you didn't play it then? That's a great question. So 1997. 1997, I would have been 15. 15. Okay, so I would have been like in high school. What was I playing in high school? So I had a Nintendo 64. I played a lot of console games, and I played a lot of RPGs. 1997, I was probably playing. God, what did I play in that house? I played like I was already playing some old school like adventure games. I would have played like a lot of Quest for Glory. I was always playing Quest for Glory. Um, and Civilization 2, I think, was probably out at that point. I was playing that. That would have been a couple years before Civilization 3 came out. But I played a lot of Civ 2 around that time. And then I missed like Baldur's Gate. I didn't have a high end computer. I was mostly playing console games. So this would have been pre Xbox, though, right? So I think I must have had a 64 and like a Super Nintendo for old school stuff, and maybe that was it. Maybe I was mostly playing 64 games. So a lot of Mario Kart, obviously a lot of Mario 64, Star Fox, definitely a lot of Star Fox. Uh, hmm. I don't think GoldenEye until a couple years later, although GoldenEye probably came out. GoldenEye maybe came out a couple years after Half-Life, so I did play that around that time, but on consoles again, not on. I wasn't really a PC gamer except for, I guess, some Sim stuff like Civilization and I don't know that I was playing like flight sim stuff at that point. That's a good question. It's a really good question. I'm gonna have to think about what other games I was playing. But I didn't have, I don't think, a powerful enough machine to play Half-Life at that time. I didn't have like a gaming rig. Do I feel that I'm learning skills that would be useful for consequence shooters like Half-Life 2 again? Um, yeah, probably. I mean, well, I don't know. Like, I've played enough shooters that I get the basics. The skills that I'm learning in Half-Life would be a lot of game-specific language stuff. So, the way that crates are used, the weapon types, probably, the structure that it uses of like physics-based puzzles and things that becomes much more pronounced. I know in Half-Life 2, the structure of like corridors and bosses, the pacing of that. I also recognize from Half-Life 2. And the actual mechanics of it, at this point, are pretty universal. I mean, obviously, I am not learning how to crouch in order to stay silent, but I don't know that I'm picking up or improving specific skills. Like, I don't think that my shooting has gotten a lot better from playing this game so far. Uh, yeah, so I don't know. I don't know. Um, Maybe some of the specific interface controls of like I don't know how much of the interface carries through, but uh, some of the strategy around when to save the game and how to sort of manage health through saves. Some of the literal action of weapon selecting and that kind of thing, if that carries over. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much more than that though. I'm like really. I feel like I'm improving. Um, Yeah, oh God, you guys. So, all right, I'm going to go through this list, and the number of no, I did not play that in 1997 is going to be really, really, really super sad. Metal Gear Solid, never played. Still have never played it. Um, Baldur's Gate, I I played a console version of Baldur's Gate. I think on the Xbox, so a couple years later. But I don't know that it was the same as the PC version. I don't think it was. It was much more like arcadey adventure than what I expect from like a BioWare game, which I think Baldur's Gate was. So I don't think I ever played Baldur's Gate either. Final Fantasy VII, I didn't have a PlayStation. I have never played Final Fantasy VII. Neverwinter Nights, I did not discover until I was after my first year of college. After my first year of undergrad is the first time that I built a computer, and I got no, what did I get? I got Morrowind with the graphics card. Like the graphics card that I picked up came prepackaged with Morrowind. I don't remember where I picked up Neverwinter Nights, but I picked up Neverwinter Nights. Oh, after having played KOTOR, maybe on the Xbox, because I probably would have done that at that time. That was huge. So Neverwinter Nights, then I played for like 72 straight hours during. It must have been during reading week. It wasn't during finals week. I'm sure that I would have failed something if I had done it during finals week. But I binged hard on that game and then kind of had to give it up because it was too much. I went too deep too fast. I learned a lot about how to play BioWare games at that point. But Neverwinter Nights was great. Never played Medal of Honor. I never played a lot of shooters. So, you know, and I think that's Half-Life kind of never really appealed to me. Medal of Honor would not have been much on my radar. Heroes of Might and Magic. Heroes I did not play, but I did play Age of Empires, and Age of Empires 2. And maybe I was playing one of those around that time. SimCity 2000. I definitely played some of, but I don't know. SimCity 2000. I don't know if I owned it. That's a good question. I picked up. Oh, I did notice that I picked up Mines. I found it odd that they didn't bring any real attention to Mines. Mines, I think, are going to be a new mechanic that seems like it's going to be significantly different. I haven't found a situation that I really want to use it in yet, except possibly on that mech. But it seems like my guess is after having played GoldenEye, I guess, that I'm gonna attach it to a wall and then like wait for somebody to come by, which doesn't happen all that often. So it's a weird kind of mechanic, and it's weird that they haven't taught me how to use it if that's not how I'm supposed to use it. But I also don't want to like try it because it seems like a very limited resource. So I don't know. I will. I'm sure that I will experiment with mines at some point. Although I'm such a hoarder. I'm terrible about hoarding powerful weapons in games. How good of a job do I feel the game has done directing me to my next objective? And how linear do I think the game feels compared to how linear it actually is? That second question is a great question. I love that question. Nice job. That really gets at the heart of something. So first question first. I feel like Half-Life does a fairly good job. And contextualized in the time that it came out, I think that it's doing a really good job. I think that most games at this time had much less of a sense of how to direct a player without using like big flashing lights. I mean, without using like interface elements, which I don't even know how many games were doing that at the time. But that was more of a pattern that people could understand by using sort of level design. I think that the game does a really good job. There's things that I think could be smoothed out more and have in the last 17 years been smoothed out more. We're just better at. But in general, I think it it does a really good job of directing me at my next objective. It's got a good sense of here's what your long-term objective is, here's what your medium-term objective is, and here's what your immediate objective is. And sometimes I don't have one of those, like it's in flux, but I have enough structure that I'm always moving forward. Interesting question now. How linear do you think the game feels compared to how linear it actually is? I mean, it's completely linear in fact, right? I mean, there's no branching. There's areas where there are branches, like literal branches, but they either lead to sort of the same space or they lead to different things that you have to do in a particular order. So you're definitely going to experience them in a particular order, or they lead to different things that you need to do both of, and you can do them in different orders, but it doesn't really matter. But the way that it reuses space so that you're constantly coming back to the same spaces and then treating them differently or leaving them differently, and the fact that there's this sort of occasional backtracking in order to sort of go a different direction. And the fact, I guess, that just the levels are designed in such a way, they're laid out so that there are these branches that, even if they're mostly false branches, still make it feel like you're coming to intersections all the time. And you're making a choice about which way to go. I think it feels much less linear than it actually is. Again, I think that there's more that can even be done than Half-Life is doing, and that we've picked up techniques in the last 17 years that if we want something to feel really non-linear, then we can play with. And often we will insert just a little bit of actual non-linearity into it in a way that feels very strong. It doesn't actually have much of an effect, and so I think like it's an older game, and it's limited by sort of the knowledge that the designers had at the time and the technology that they were using, obviously. But it does a really good job. My favorite thing is how it's reusing spaces, how we have like hub spaces that we branch off from and come back to. We have these like intersection spaces where we pass through a space in one direction one time, and then we come back and we pass through it going a different direction another time. And this is a pattern that I see repeating throughout the game that I think really lends to that sense that this is an interconnected space that I'm exploring rather than a path that I am walking down, which is more what it actually is. Was my graphics card an NVIDIA 6600 GT? I would believe that. I don't know. I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember. It was probably 2002. And maybe it was an NVIDIA. I'm almost certain it was an NVIDIA. Yeah, Neverwinter Nights is a great game. I should probably stick it back in at some point. There's so many BioWare games now to choose from that well, whatever. It's a great game. Huck wants to know if I've done much competitive gaming, like death matches in shooters. So like friendly competitive gaming. I've done very little. I mean, I went through a phase in college where we would do LAN parties with Halo mostly, and play deathmatch or capture the flag. I mean, playing capture the flag in Halo was just a blast. And if you were on a college campus when that game was hot, and you could play LAN in like a dorm, that was the thing to do, right? That was a blast. but Heroes is nothing. Okay, sorry, but I like that is extremely casual, and I'm not very good at it. And I've done like one on one. I have fun doing that, or I have historically had fun playing like 1v1 in GoldenEye or Halo, mostly console games. Because that's where I mostly am interested in playing competitively is when I'm in the same room with somebody. If I'm like you know playing multiplayer over the internet or something like that, I find less appealing, and I've done very little of it. And I've never been any good competitive in like a competitive environment. But God, I loved playing Mario Kart racing and doing the Mario Kart battles. Back when I had a 64, we'd have parties. That's my level of hardcore competitive gaming right there. Um, Heroes of Might and Magic is nothing like Age of Empires. It's not even RTS. Whoops. Sorry. Am I thinking of something different? Is there a like a fantasy based other than Warcraft? Obviously, maybe that's what I'm thinking of. I don't think that's what I'm thinking of. Heroes of Might and Magic. What kind of game is that? Is it turn based? I mean, it's like a tactical combat game, isn't it? Um, I don't know. I don't know. I guess I don't know what Heroes of Might and Magic is. Apparently, I have definitely never played it. Um, yeah, so multiplayer history. That's basically my multiplayer history. If I played the game, okay, if I played Half-Life on hard, do you think I might explore mechanics more deeply, like the mines, crouching, box breaking? Yeah, possibly. I mean, I'm sure. I'm sure that that's true. I like, I don't, so I don't have the skill to really excel at a game like this on hard, and I don't have the drive to improve. Like, that's fine. I'm not looking for the skill of playing Half Life like really well. Um, so my experience with playing games on hard is that yes, there's a point where you get more stuck. Like the thing that happened today where I had 10 health and I had to be like really careful and I kept dying because I only had 10 health and like I had to watch out and be careful about everything I did. That's like that's exciting. That's something very cool. Um, I can kind of only take so much of it, and the stress of like not knowing whether I'm actually going to be able to proceed is I find that I find that difficult to continue to have fun with the game when I'm experiencing that for more than a couple of minutes at a time. I think that's really where I am. So I can absolutely see if I was playing this game on hard, like I would come to an area where, Jesus, these soldiers just mowed me down. I'm gonna have to think much more carefully about like what weapons am I using? Can I plant mines? Can I give myself some kind of a tactical advantage so that I can get through this room? And I think that'd be very interesting briefly. And then I think it would drive me totally crazy. And there's no way that I'd be able to play 12 or 15-hour game doing that, which is why I don't. That's why I don't go that direction because I'm not interested. Like that doesn't do enough to keep me. Like it can keep me for a few minutes, but it's not going to keep me for the long haul when I'm like feeling frustrated by it. Yeah, so it's a good question because you're absolutely right. Like, if I was in a position where the game were harder, I would not be able to hoard grenades. I wouldn't be able to just hang on to mines, and then I would have to use them, and I would discover more things about them, and I would use them differently. Um, yeah, it's and people get really deep with that, and I absolutely appreciate that games with really good gunplay or really good like tactical combat or like whatever it is that the game has, that people can get expert at it, and that's fantastic, and like that it has depth, I think is really cool. I appreciate that. That's not what I'm looking for in a game. I'm not like looking for that kind of mechanical depth. I'm looking for the experience of play, which is frequently narrative and is frequently about sort of visual design and level design and like the design of different elements, and absolutely about interactive design and mechanics, but at a at a much shallower level than what you're talking about when you're developing like real expertise that is required to play these kinds of games at like a harder difficulty. Even though I'm on easy difficulty, do I think the guns that I've encountered feel different enough? Is all the gunplay samey? Or do I think there's a legitimate choice to be made whenever you encounter enemies? I know the guns are pretty good. My experience with first-person shooters that I've played is that they tend to do guns well. So maybe I take that for granted, but the assault rifle feels weak to me. I generally don't want to be using the assault rifle, although now that I have grenades, maybe that'll change. The shotgun I like because it's powerful and it's short range, and I tend not to be able to aim well at long range. So, like, short range works for me. I would love a sniper rifle. Sniper rifle is my gun in shooters, and I'm not like I can't play competitively with it, but I enjoy shooters that have sniper rifles tend to be designed so that there is a play style where you move through the space carefully and pick off enemies from a distance. And I love that. That's what I enjoy in a shooter, and especially in like a solo campaign, because obviously you can't get away with that in multiplayer with players who are smart. But against AIs and against like scripted characters, I enjoy that very much. That's what I play. That's that's my Mass Effect class is the sniper. Um, so yeah, I would love to have a sniper rifle, but I definitely get this feel that like the pistol is a good all around like slow rate of fire but reliable. The assault rifle seems weak considering the kind of spread that it has, and uh, I can't think of the word is for the kickback that like I can't actually shoot automatic for very long without my aim going all over the place. Um, so I actually kind of prefer the pistol, even though it's got a really low rate of fire. But I definitely prefer the shotgun, and I think it's a Magnum, whatever the new 6-shooter that I got, that is just super powerful. I like a lot. It's got a slower delay between shots, and it's got a much slower reload. So you got to be sort of careful with it. Also, the bullets seem to be much more scarce. But it feels like a nice weapon. So I like, even at this level of difficulty, I definitely have a sense of these different guns have different personalities, and because I'm like um, I'm playing on easy and I can get away with it, I will tend to just use a gun for a while. Rather than like switch guns in the middle of combat or switch guns specifically for situations. But I will, like, you know, especially if I'm going through a situation a second time, uh, I will adjust my gun for whatever seems appropriate for that kind of enemy. If you know, if it's one of those spitters and I feel like I'm going to have to attack it ranged, versus something that I can run up to with my shotgun. You know, that's I will do that. It's just harder for me to do that kind of mental switching and then the physical switching in the moment because generally by the time I run into an enemy, they're like on top of me. Okay, I think that's probably it for me. Except that apparently I was thinking of Age of Mythology because I think that was an RTS. Heroes of Might and Magic, I have no idea what that is. I'm going to go look that up and learn about games that I didn't play in the late 90s. Guys, thank you so much. I am enjoying this a lot. I love doing these Q&As. I love that you have interesting questions. I keep worrying that as I'm playing these games, I'm going to like run out of interesting stuff to say. So hopefully that doesn't happen, but I love that you guys are feeding me such fantastic questions that I feel like I don't even need to do any work. So that's great. Thank you so much for joining me, for hanging out, for being a part of the chat and this community. It's really kind of it's a lot of fun to sort of see a community like this develop and to hang out in the Twitch chat and get to know you guys. So thank you so much for hanging out with me and being part of this Foreign February thing. And I don't know if I'm going to be around the rest of this week, but I certainly, if not before Saturday, will stream some more Half-Life on Saturday. And we'll finish Half-Life at some point, maybe not too late after February ends. That's my hope. So have a great night or whatever time of day it is where you are, and I'll see you next time.